The audio industry has crowned Pro Tools as the industry standard DAW for the last few decades. It came out in the 90s and is still found in most commercial studios today. But with other DAWs like Logic Pro, Ableton Live, Studio One, FL Studio, is Pro Tools still the industry standard? Recently, fellow creatives Barry Johns and Bolo the producer have put out videos questioning if Pro Tools really is the industry standard. And I think conversations like this are very important and healthy to have. If you're an aspiring producer, engineer, or artist, it's important for us to be educated on what are the best tools for our particular workflows. We want to make the best music we can while being as productive as we can. At the same time, we want to make sure we're getting good value out of the products that we invest our hard-earned money on. Before we can say if Pro Tools is the industry standard, we need to define what the industry standard means. According to this AI overview from Google, an industry standard refers to a set of requirements, guidelines, or practices that are widely accepted and followed by most companies within a specific industry, essentially acting as a benchmark for quality, performance, and compatibility within that field. It signifies a commonly agreed upon standard that most businesses strive to meet in their operations and product development. If this is the definition we're working with, you could say that Pro Tools is the industry standard of the music and audio industry. If you go to a professional recording studio, 9 times out of 10, they're recording, mixing, and mastering with Pro Tools. Most popular songs you see on the Billboard charts were probably worked on in Pro Tools at some point, whether they were recorded, mixed, or mastered in Pro Tools. If you watch any video on YouTube or Mix with the Masters where an engineer is breaking down a mix from a popular song, pretty much all of them are using Pro Tools. And if you're someone who has a job where you're recording or mixing audio for television, you are also probably using Pro Tools. Based on this, we can say that Pro Tools is widely accepted and followed by most companies within the music and audio industry. But with that being said, while it is the benchmark for compatibility, is it also the benchmark for quality and performance? This is where most of Barry and Bolo's complaints come from. And from my personal experience with Pro Tools, I agree with them. If you compare Pro Tools features and price with their competition, there are multiple DAWs that outdo them. I personally use Logic Pro for the majority of the music that I worked on, but I briefly used and studied Pro Tools at a professional studio. This was in 2019, and I don't have the most recent update for Pro Tools, so I could be wrong, but at that time, I couldn't find any features in Pro Tools that I couldn't find in Logic, but I could find features and tools in Logic that either I couldn't find in Pro Tools or just weren't as easy to use. For example, with the version of Pro Tools that was available in 2019, it didn't come with any pitch correction tools. Logic Pro has a stock auto-tune plugin, and it has Flex Pitch, which is its own version of Melodyne. Currently, Logic Pro has stem separation, which can be an interesting way to manipulate samples, or just a mix you're working on if you don't have access to the original stems. There are other DAWs with this feature too, but Pro Tools does not have it. For context, I primarily produce and engineer hip-hop and rap music. Besides vocals and guitars, I mostly work with virtual instruments and samples, and when I'm sent songs to mix that I didn't do any production on, most of the time I'm working with vocals and a 2-track instrumental. So the features I care about might not be the same as someone who's recording a folk band or editing audio for TV. But with that being said, Pro Tools is significantly more expensive than Logic Pro, and it doesn't offer more value than it in comparison. You can get Logic Pro for a one-time fee of $199, and so far they've been giving free updates ever since Logic Pro 10, and right now we're on Logic Pro 11. Pro Tools charges either a monthly or annual subscription fee, and their pricing tiers range from $99 a year to $599 a year. At one point, they did offer a perpetual license, but then they removed it in favor of their subscription model, and then they recently started offering it again. But their perpetual license really isn't perpetual. It's good for a year, but then if you want to update to the next version of Pro Tools, or if you download a new OS to your computer and now Pro Tools isn't compatible with it, you'll have to renew your license. As a consumer, it doesn't make sense to spend that much money when there are other options that offer more features for a smaller price. In Avid's defense, their target audience is industry professionals who can afford that price, and they may not need all of the features that it's missing. I'd imagine that an engineer who's editing audio for a Marvel movie could care less about having a stem splitter or having better stock instruments. But comparing Pro Tools features to Logic, Ableton, and even FL Studio, the price doesn't match up to what you're getting. Why would it make sense to pay more money for a piece of software that doesn't have the same features that are found in its competitors that are also charging less? Regardless of the features that Pro Tools is missing, based on its wide use and compatibility within the music and audio industry, it still would be considered the industry standard. But just because it is the industry standard, is it the best DAW on the market? And more importantly, is it the best DAW for you? In my opinion, unless you want to work in a professional studio or you're working with audio for TV and film, there are are other DAWs in the market that are more affordable and could be a better fit for you. Like I said, I don't have the current version of Pro Tools. I know they've added new features since then, and I've seen a handful of them in action, so it's possible that my opinion could be outdated. But for my personal use as a producer and audio engineer who mainly works with rap vocals, singers, and virtual instruments, I haven't found any features in Pro Tools that I can't find in Logic Pro. I have considered updating my professional license to Pro Tools just so I can have a copy of it that works on my computer, but I'm not in a rush to. When it comes to what DAW I would recommend, if you're someone who mostly does freelance work and you don't plan on working in a commercial studio, it really doesn't matter what DAW you use as long as you're comfortable with its workflow. If you are someone who does want to work in the industry, if you want to work with artists that record in professional studios, or if you're getting sent records from signed artists who are recording in these professional studios, in this situation, it would be a good idea for you to get Pro Tools. But outside of that, I think there are better options on the market that offer more value for a more affordable price. This is all just my opinion. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what DAW you use as long as you're using what fits your workflow and what inspires you to create dope music. Whether you use Pro Tools, Logic Pro, FL Studio, Ableton, Studio One, you can record and create music at a professional level. Don't let the term industry standard fool you. There are artists who record on a $200 mic running through a $100 audio interface in a home studio that drop songs with millions of streams. There are some who've even gone viral just by recording with their phone and BandLab. The tools you use don't matter more than the product you put out. At the end of the day, focus on making art that makes you happy no matter if the DAW you're using or the equipment you're using is the industry standard. I appreciate you for watching this video. If you found value in it, please give it a like, a comment, and subscribe for more. And if you want to learn what every music producer should be doing in 2025 in order to be successful, click this video.